All right, now, everybody. Quiet, listen to me. We're going to start a show. Now, some of you people have been with me before. You know it's going to be a tough grind, but we're going to have a show.
Don't try to stop us. We're here for a big Friday show. Glad everybody could join us, and we are at full strength. Everybody's on the ice. That's right. Albert's here.
Albert, thank you.
Kim is
Kim,
here.
how are you?
The chat is filled with many regulars. There is, I don't see any controversy yet in the chat, but you never know, and it's always an exciting possibility that the chat turns on somebody and pillories them with comments and with reprimands, and in some way encourages a yellow card, which of course could end up with a red card, which we did have last week.
What?
And I promised to reinstate that person, and I forgot for another day. Kim is hoping I forget every day. She does not want him reinstated, but I did promise he would be reinstated. And so anyway, I don't want to get off too much on this point, but will the MTS show be deleting and or blocking comments that make them uncomfortable?
We never do that.
Asking for a friend.
Do we do
It
this? We
sounds
don't
like
do
that
this.
person is back in the chat, and bravo, I say. Look, it's about Kim. She's the tough one.
You're the one that threw the red card. Don't blame me.
Yeah, well,
I blame you.
All right, listen. Let's settle down. I mean, there's plenty of blame to go around as long as none of it falls on me.
Come on.
We have such the show. In addition to a lot of the stuff that we will at least touch on at the beginning of the show here, I want to mention that, of course, Friday brings Friday Fabulous Florida, which is a segment dedicated to news from the Sunshine State. And Albert informs us prior to the show in our big pre-show meeting that there are gators in Florida today. So,
Getting gators. We're getting
always
gators.
like a reptilian presence. Yeah.
I think there's 2 gators as well. So
Yeah,
Nice.
that's very strong. So that's something that will happen bottom of the hour. The other thing I wanted to mention is that we've got Michael Snyder coming up, the Culture Blaster with movies. That'll be the second part of the second hour. Michael Shure will update politics. There was that meltdown in the House you saw with Marjorie Taylor Greene just slinging the normal, I don't know, I was going to say it's sort of the normal vituperative rhetoric and insults that she slings with, kind of a casual abandon, but it turned into a food fight. Vituperative is a ding word.
I don't even know how to
It turned
spell
into
that.
a food fight. Yeah, it was pretty. We do have that, I believe, Albert. Do you have that video? I think we have it. If you don't, we'll load it. We'll get to it. But I would like it. Maybe run it during Shure's segment, so you got plenty of time to rally it. I went to a wedding yesterday. I ran
nice.
out to a wedding, and it was really a nice wedding. And it, first of all, was a gorgeous venue.
Open bar?
What's that?
Open bar?
What?
That's the key right there.
Yeah. Well, it was a.
I'd be willing to bet my lunch that there's alcohol involved.
There was a. They had 3 specialty drinks, which were alcoholic drinks, and Negroni was one of them. And I had, I think, maybe 5 of them.
What?
I know. And oddly, I don't know.
There's a reason that this place is fun.
The guy was pouring them out of a pitcher, the way you'd pour lemonade out of a pitcher on a summer afternoon. It's like Albert's house on a Saturday night. So I noticed it's a very cool crowd. Everybody was, very interesting that I ran into. And he's German. He's half German. So part of the ceremony, you have this sort of, there was a guy in like lederhosen, the dress, they have dress lederhosen. You know what I mean? It was really quite lovely. And then I'll tell you, I'm very emotional, and so I actually choked up during this whole thing a few times.
Crying,
the mother,
cocktails, and lederhosen. I don't know how that could be better.
It was great. I loved it.
So the mother, his mother, gave a toast, and she gave the toast in German to him, with somebody translating it for the crowd, and then she gave a toast to the new daughter-in-law in English, and it was quite lovely. And then his best man, and there is something about listening to people whose native language isn't English, get through the English when they're not so sure of it. I mean, when they're not native speakers and they're not sure of the language. It is just charming. And the best man made his comments in English, although he's a German guy who came over to the wedding. And it was just beautiful. It was really quite special. And then her maid of honor made a beautiful toast as well. I don't know. I was really taken by it. I thought it was really beautiful. And it was like everything was so perfect. It was nothing too over the top and nothing. It was really quite lovely.
Are you feeling like it's time for weddings? Wedding bells ringing in the Mark Thompson brain?
I don't see it, although the venue was nice enough. If I did it, I might go there for the venue. That was very, very nice. So you didn't
catch the garter? None of that?
No, I didn't. We had to drive there. It was 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
So we didn't. If there was a garter toss, we didn't stay for it.
Yeah.
We'd stayed for a long time, but maybe, I didn't see a garter toss happening.
Long enough for the 5 drinks to wear off.
They were, yes, exactly. They were so nice. They had, first of all, I think we were the only vegans there, plant-based eaters.
Sure.
And they gave us a plant-based meal. And then they had vegan donuts. And I thought, are these for us? And the answer is yeah. They just got donuts. So I really felt quite touched. And honestly, I hate it when people put themselves out like that. Here is the couple. Albert has a picture, I think, of the couple. Don't you, Albert? No?
Gosh, I love a good wedding.
You don't have it?
I had the venue picture. Let me get the other.
Yeah. Albert, thank you.
I thought with that lengthy ramp up.
Oh, wow.
There they are.
That's nice.
That's them. And they're standing next to me, which is it's a nice little.
Oh, look at you! Yeah. Look at your suit.
I dressed up for
nice.
it. There you go. Yeah, really quite.
Good.
Yeah,
I think she's more taken with you than she is the groom. Look at that.
No, she's looking at the groom.
There's never been anything
looks like
this.
She's looking at you, sir.
Oh, really?
Girl, you just woo.
That's really quite beautiful. Anyway, congratulations to Chris. That's Chris, the groom, and Brandy, the bride, on a beautiful wedding and a great future and a terrific life ahead. Nice. So congratulations to both of you. You're really not supposed to say congratulations to the woman. You're supposed to say congratulations to the man. Isn't that right?
No, I've never heard this. What are you supposed to say to the woman?
You can check this because I this is what I've heard, but I don't think I've ever.
Some kind of Butker speech thing happening here?
I've never corroborated it.
Google it.
That Butker stuff we were talking about it at, it's wild. But you're not supposed to say congratulations to the woman because congratulations is intended to the guy, like congratulations for getting such a terrific girl, catching such a wonderful person. You know what I mean? You're the one who's lucky is the implication of congratulations. It's become congratulations for finding each other, I guess, maybe the way you'd spin it. But I think congratulations really did start as a specific thing for the groom.
Huh.
Not so much. Now, you can correct me in the chat or check it out. And
Google it.
I don't believe that that's right, but maybe not. It's like when you say congratulations to the woman or to the bride, the implication is like, congratulations, you finally found somebody. You know what I mean? That can be, you see how it could be misinterpreted that way.
How about congratulations on this big milestone, momentous step in your life?
Well, that's what it's become. So you're right. I mean, I think it has become that.
I blame you.
I don't want to spend too much more time on it except to say that the people at my table were all from The Price is Right. which was
fun.
pretty good. I mean, they all worked at The Price is Right. So it was pretty cool to be with, just first of all, just to meet all these people who are involved in The Price is Right. And everybody at the table seemed to have a Price is Right story. One guy had won on another game show, tried to get on Price is Right and couldn't get on Price is Right. And, I broke up with a girlfriend. She worked at Young and the Restless. And they tape right across the way from Price is Right. And we broke up right there as the Price is Right has just breaking. And they're like, we're breaking up. It's like really intense conversation. And they're wheeling ski-doos past us. It was really funny. It was terrific. And,
What?
Yeah. And then there was like a jacuzzi, this enormous jacuzzi, but it was over on its side, like vertical. And they're wheeling that by, too. And I did stop in the middle of breaking up. And I said, sweetheart, you have to look at this. This moment is insane. I mean, that we're digesting this thing and all of this is going on around us. But the Price is Right people were a lot of fun. So a lot
Price
of
is
fun.
Right was a staple in the KGO control room with our board guy Chris. If anybody remembers Chris, Chris loved Price is Right. He would go out of his way to change. He was a super commuter, so I just let him do whatever he wants. He commuted like 2 hours just to go to work every day.
From Manteca, yeah.
Yeah, whatever you want to watch, put that on the TV. I don't mind. But that's what we watched in the control room for years.
That's hilarious. That's really hilarious.
Now we understand why there was always a gap between when the audio was supposed to play and when it actually played.
Seriously?
So with Chris, we would, I'd tell him we're going to do Law and Disorder or whatever. And we would, sometimes there would be that, and this is Law and Disorder, 1,000, 1,000. Now we know he was trying to figure out, the price of rice-a-roni or something.
Exactly.
So that was it. Anyway.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Anyway, it's great to have everybody here. It's a Friday. It's been a rough week, so it's cool to be able to kind of digress a little bit and talk about some things that put smiles on faces.
Smash it with your iron rod.
Yeah, smash it with your iron rod. Can I just be completely in the spirit of digression and tell you that we are sold out for our June Swoon meetup. So if you haven't gotten a spot, there'll be another one. We'll do another meetup, but this, which really looks to be a super cool kickoff, we are sold out. But we'll keep you all posted on, if people can't make it or something like that, maybe there'll be a spot. But
Are we
right
doing
now we are.
Get Fly in July? Is that what we're doing?
Yeah, and we'll do another one. Yeah. We'll do another one in July.
Yeah.
If there's enough interest, we love doing them. And I believe Trevor Starr in Hollywood, used to be Trevor in Concord, which is a community near the Bay Area, sent us drops. New drops. He is the king and the master of drops.
I don't want to.
That is one of the drops. It's perfect, I think, actually.
I don't want to.
I don't love drops from people on the show usually, but boy, the Kim drops are pretty irresistible.
I don't want to.
Yeah. And then I believe there was another Kim drop. Thought I had it.
What a jerk.
That's it.
What a jerk.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that one.
What a jerk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, thank you, Trevor.
I don't want to.
Yeah. I still think the ranking officer on deck when it comes to Kim drops is
I blame you.
Yeah, I really love that. I really love it.
And of course, the Marks Madness runner-up.
Oh, that is true. Yeah. That was, Chit 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 made it almost to the very end. Yeah.
Story of my life. Always the bridesmaid, never the bride.
Well, you got
second runner-up.
way deep. By the way, the winner of Marks Madness will be at the June Swoon meetup. Sally.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Nice.
She out-predicted a huge field. Yeah. And lastly, Kamish, I think there was some pretty big, was it hockey? Something big happened in the hockey game last night. Am I wrong about that? You may want to talk to Michael Shure about that one.
Yeah, you were probably thinking of his Rangers, and yep, they did what we in the sports world. We do have the PGA Championship is this weekend, and Scotty Scheffler, who's been like on a Tiger Woods-esque run, like winning majors winning every tournament this year. It's what it seems like. He got arrested, actually.
Yeah, in fact, there's video of his arrest. Did I send it to you, or did you see it?
I have an article here, but let me go get that.
I think maybe we'll show it to you a little bit later, but it is sort of wild because he's like top of golf, and he was trying to get through a barrier essentially at 5 a.m. And I guess they had a barricade set up because there had been here it is. There'd been an accident.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if this one has the video of him. They said that the police officer was dragged a little bit.
Oh no.
Yeah, apparently, what they're claiming is that there he is, that he was contacted by the police officer that you can't go through here, and he tried to go through there anyway, and he claims, the police officer does, that in that exchange he began to go through and dragged the police officer some distance. I mean, I don't know what it was. It was more than 2 feet, but probably less than 20 feet, and that turned into a full-blown altercation and the arrest that you just saw. So, pretty wild.
Very weird, but he's playing again. So he's playing again, and he's actually in the top 10, I think, right now.
Well, I mean, isn't that great?
Unfazed.
I love that he can. This is how good he is. He is celebrated by all of golf. He is arrested at 5 a.m., still makes his tee time that morning, and is leading the field. Yeah, that's a very talented golfer. So congratulations on
The Mark Thompson Show.
The former Trump lawyer John Eastman pleads not guilty in that election interference case. That's in Arizona. Meantime, we have 47 arrested at a protest in Orange County. This is this UC Irvine situation that became overwhelming. There were 47 protesters, and they were clearing the Gaza solidarity encampments. That is done. Chapman University and students there reach an agreement to dismantle their Gaza solidarity encampment. This is before the commencement weekend, which is this weekend. They'll be given time during a September meeting of the university's board's investment committee to present requests on divesting from interests that support Israel and for transparency in investments. So that was the deal struck with those protesters here in California, in Southern California. There was a crazy pursuit in Southern California, just while I'm on it. Then I want to get to Billy Graham and the craziness of the Supreme Court. This is insane what's come out about Alito and his wife. But did you see, I sent you this, Albert. Can you run some of this? This video is from early this morning. I guess, actually, it was, I think this was around 5 a.m. also. Boy, it's really active around. This is a pursuit that took place on the 405 freeway, for those who know Southern California. And it's this white van that's going the wrong way on the 405 freeway in Southern California.
Oh, my God, that's scary.
Exactly. You can see this is a white van going at high speed as oncoming traffic is evading that van. It is in utter insanity. Clearly, the person who is driving this vehicle in the wrong direction is under the influence of something, or just purely
now we have stopped
madness.
Traffic. So what's he going to do now? Oh, Jesus.
I mean, drove right into the stop traffic.
Wow.
The collision
Now he's going to make a run for it. Look at him. He's a runner.
Near Sunset Boulevard. No, that was somebody else getting out of their car.
Oh.
Not a runner. It's a woman, and she got on top of the van. You'll see this in a second.
Oh,
on top of her own van. And then as officers closed in, she jumps onto the hood of the huge truck, that semi-truck. So the big rig is sitting there. She sat on the hood, And then finally, she's taken into custody by the officers as they close in. She was loaded into an ambulance. 2 injured officers were listed in stable condition. They were taken to the hospital. None of the innocent drivers involved in the collision appeared to be seriously hurt, is the good news.
That's really good.
The stoppage occurred, for those who know Southern California, near Sunset Boulevard and the 405 freeway. So
that's not usually the way it works out with a head-on crash. Usually that's fatal. So
I couldn't agree more. Very, very lucky for all concerned, but utter madness again. So that's the situation in California, with encampments, with plea deals, and with a high-speed chase in the early morning. Now,
The Mark Thompson Show.
it seems incredible, yet utterly unsurprising, that at Justice Alito's house, a Stop the Steal symbol is on display, an upside-down flag that was adopted by Trump supporters after the election when they were contesting the Biden victory. This is flying over the justice's front lawn as the Supreme Court is considering an election case. I mean, it's, you can't make this crap up. There were other homes that flew these flags, but as reported by the New York Times, who got this shot, one of the homes flying an inverted flag during that time was the residence of Supreme Court Justice Samuel A. Alito, Jr. It's in Alexandria, Virginia, right outside of Washington. It was flown January 17th, 2021, and many President Trump supporters were using that same symbol of the upside-down flag, and they were bringing it to the Capitol a little over a week prior. Mr. Biden's inauguration, I'll remind you, is 3 days away. Neighbors snap pictures, and these pictures are just floating to the surface. While the flag was up, the court was still contending with whether to hear that 2020 election case, with Justice Alito on the losing end of that decision. We know where Alito is on all this. Alito, Thomas. In the coming weeks, the justices will rule on 2 big cases involving the storming of the Capitol on January 6th, including whether Mr. Trump has immunity for his actions. Those judgments still have to be made. Those decisions are going to shape how accountable Trump is for trying to overturn the last presidential election. And they'll affect his chances for being reelected. That is to say, for being elected president in this election cycle. I had no involvement whatsoever in flying of the flag, Justice Alito said in an emailed statement to the New York Times. It was briefly placed by, see the earlier story that we did yesterday with the Menendez trial when they blamed Mrs. Menendez. It was Mrs. Alito, he says. Yeah. Who can control those wives? Am I right, people? Yeah. It was briefly placed by Mrs. Alito, he says, in response to a neighbor's use of objectionable and personally insulting language on yard signs. I don't really even understand what that means.
The neighbor had a sign that was anti-Trump, and it contained an offensive word to her. And apparently neighbors say that she's had a back and forth with these neighbors that are anti-Trump, and she's pro-Trump. So in response to their yard sign, their anti-Trump yard sign, she throws up this flag.
It's nice that we know that the Alitos, I guess, can get into the back and forth with the neighbors. Crazy.
When you have a husband or a spouse that has a job like, I don't know, Supreme Court of the United States, president, congressperson, you kind of sign on for, all right, we have to act with a certain amount of decorum here. We have to stay out of the fray. This is a big job, and it requires all of us working together to make sure that we're, our family doesn't taint the waters for our person that's serving. I don't know. I feel like she should have been a little smarter than this.
No question about it. You know, this is, judicial experts say, it's a violation of ethics rules. The reason is you want to avoid even the appearance of any kind of conflict or bias.
Or bias, yeah.
So this does just the opposite. It creates the impression of something that we already know, but it reinforces the impression we have that Alito has bias, that he is not impartial. So here it is. The mere impression of political opinion can be a problem. Quote, it might be his spouse or someone else living in his home, but he shouldn't have it in his yard as his message to the world. This is, quote, the equivalent of putting a stop the steal sign in your yard, which is a problem if you're deciding election-related cases. The justice's wife, Martha-Ann Alito, has been in a dispute with another family on the block over an anti-Trump sign on their lawn, as Kim says. But given the timing and the starkness of the symbol, neighbors interpreted the inverted flag as a political statement by the couple. Look, the Supreme Court is so poisoned by these people. Alito, Thomas. I mean, look, it's tough to stop there. I mean, I think Gorsuch is no day at the beach, but he's the corporate guy, you know. They're all super corporate and friendly, but Roberts' wife makes millions a year as a GOP activist. Mrs. Thomas actively supported January 6th, and Mrs. Alito is flying our flag upside down. SCOTUS is fair and balanced, just like faux news, yeah. Or Fox News, yeah. I don't know what to say about this, except it just, as I say, reinforces everything that we are aware of at the court. Look, the notion that the court is completely impartial and free of political stuff, politics, I mean, that's a Pollyannish notion anyway. Since the beginning of time, they have played the Supreme Court politically. But what's happening now is a kind of bald-faced corruption in addition to political bias. It just seems completely untethered, you know, completely unbridled. Trevor Starr in Hollywood. Honey, where are my pants? Where's my upside down flag again? Anyway, pretty big time. And forget about the appearance of impartiality. The Walmart parking lot. Yeah. He comes from regular stock, the Clarence Thomas. And
I come from regular stock.
And so I guess Alito has his own world there in Alexandria, Virginia.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Again, they keep talking about some kind of ethics code. There is an ethics code, but it's not enforceable in any way. So anyway, that's that. I need to take a break for Kim. I want to get some news into the mix, and then we have Friday Fabulous Florida curated by Albert. And we were told that there are gators in our Florida offering. It is getting warmer in Florida. You know, the gators during the winter months, they're hibernating essentially. They're sleeping. But now they're coming to life.
Right now it's mating season, and they're hungry.
And there you have it. So smash the like button like a boss if you would. We appreciate that.
Smash it
thumbs
with your
up.
iron rod.
Thumbs up helps us in the YouTube universe. Share parts of the show. If you see a conversation, if you see a short you may like, share it. Hit the arrow. Put it up on Facebook. Wherever you boys and girls do your social, what is that stuff, Kim? It's the social
media?
mediaing? Yeah. Wherever you're social mediaing, please share our show. It helps grow our footprint. Kim's News and Florida next. Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister, and this report is sponsored by Tenuta Vineyards. Gotta love that. Why are you yelling red? Hello and good morning. Well, it is a day of sentencing for the man convicted of attacking former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's 84-year-old husband, Paul Pelosi, with a hammer. he will spend 3 decades behind bars. Today, David DePape was sentenced to a 30-year prison sentence for that attack in 2022 at Pelosi's San Francisco home. The whole thing caught on police body camera. DePape was convicted last year, and his attorneys asked for 14 years. Again, he gets 30. Democrats are going after Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito, as Mark mentioned, following a report that he flew an upside-down American flag outside of his home shortly after the attack on the U.S. Capitol. The New York Times publishing a photo taken by a neighbor of that flag outside of Alito's home in Alexandria, Virginia, days after a pro-Trump mob stormed the Capitol. The inverted flag has been associated with Trump's claims that Biden stole the 2020 election. Alito told the Times he had no involvement in flying that flag, saying it was his wife that hung it after a confrontation with a neighbor. The report prompted Senate Judiciary Committee Chair Dick Durbin to call on Alito to recuse himself from all cases related to the 2020 election and the Capitol riot. You think he's going to recuse himself?
They're not big on recusal at
they
the
really
Supreme
aren't.
Court. Yeah.
I don't see that happening. No, I don't think there's going to be a recusal.
No, exactly.
Because if
right.
he recuses,
as Kim famously once said,
I don't want to.
Yeah, exactly.
and that's really all it takes.
Right.
I don't want to.
Yeah.
And if he recuses, then do they all have to recuse because they all have their, their politics flying on?
It was Mrs. Alito who should recuse herself. That's the point.
Yeah.
And Mrs. Alito, according to a shadow producer Calvin Wong, says that the maid did it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Who said it was actually the nanny who did it. Donald Trump's New York hush money trial continues on Monday. We can expect to see Michael Cohen, Trump's one-time fixer, on the witness stand again for more cross-examination about hush money paid to porn actress Stormy Daniels. Judges told defense lawyers, prosecutors, be ready for closing arguments as soon as Tuesday. That depends on whether Trump testifies. They don't think he's going to. What Katsadamas said he wouldn't, so I don't know.
Who's Joe Biden's fixer? It's interesting. I never really thought about the fixers. And I guess every guy's got a fixer. I didn't realize that.
You don't have a fixer?
I do not. And I feel it's one more thing that a lot of other people have, I guess, that I do not have.
I thought everyone had a fixer.
Yeah.
Well, how are you going to correct the mistakes you make in life?
Really? I mean, it worked out for a long time until it didn't.
Don't you have to pay the money to the porn lady that you know? You don't have to?
Well, I mean, in a way, I'm hoping. But it sounds like it was a good time till the,
till the fixer had to be called
again,
in.
till it wasn't. Right.
Trump says he's thinking about testifying, but he hasn't made up his mind yet.
Sure. Yeah, I'm going to announce it. You'll never be anything like it.
His lawyers
There's never been anything like this.
No, don't do it.
I'm gonna,
I think I'm the most honest human being, perhaps that God ever created.
Yeah. So it's no wonder he wants to testify, but they just feel like he shouldn't. Like maybe it's not a good idea.
I did everything right, and they indicted me.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
The House has passed a bill to prevent President Biden from withholding weapons to Israel. The push by Republican leaders is in response to President Biden's decision to pause one shipment of bombs to Israel due to concerns about a full-scale military operation in the city of Rafah. The final vote, 224 to 186, with 16 Democrats going against House Democratic leadership and President Biden. Pro-Palestinian protesters have tried to force the hands of universities by occupying campuses with tent cities. California Congressman Kevin Kiley is hoping that he can put an end to that.
It's unacceptable that you've had universities that have silenced the voices of the vast majority of students by caving to the demands of the lawless few who are occupying these encampments.
The Sacramento Republican has filed a resolution ordering colleges to clean out these encampments that have become rife with anti-Semitic threats, he says. He blasted the leadership at UCLA and Cal Riverside, or UC Riverside, who have negotiated with the activists. A criminal investigation is underway into assaults that occurred at the Los Angeles campus. 2 foreign nationals are in ICE custody after they allegedly attempted to enter a Marine Corps base. Officials say this incident happened May 3rd at Quantico in Virginia. A base spokesperson says the driver of a box truck allegedly said they were making a delivery to the post office from Amazon's a subcontractor. They then continued to move past the holding area that they were brought to and tried to access the base. ICE's director said the 2 are in removal proceedings now. New research shows 1 in 7 Gen Z credit card users have maxed out their credit cards. It's from the Federal Reserve of New York, just over 15% of this group, compared to under 5% of baby boomers and under 10% of Gen Xers who have maxed out their credit cards. The report concludes 3 years of high inflation is the driver behind that debt. Ooh, I hate to hear that. Once you max those out, you're kind of screwed. Because then you're just paying on the interest. Yeah.
I mean, they're just absolutely insane. Boys and girls, try not to max out your credit card. Try any kind of loan to pay those down because they're usurious rates. I want to say like 19 or north of 20% sometimes. It's crazy.
No, and then you get yourself into this hole and you can't get out. It's awful. The California High-Speed Rail Authority is in favor of building a segment between Los Angeles and Anaheim. This plan would received initial pushback from residents living near the proposed rail line, but it's now approved to move into the environmental review phase. 4 mainline tracks would be shared by other passenger and freight trains. Too soon to know how much it would cost or how long it would take to complete that 33-mile of high-speed rail segment between Los Angeles and Anaheim. State of California is a step closer to formally apologizing to Black Californians for slavery. Los Angeles Assemblyman Reggie Jones Sawyer authoring this bill. The state assembly passed it to apologize for the state's role in instituting slave laws and discriminatory practices since its founding. Jones Sawyer called the move an historic vote, and the bill will now head off to the state Senate. And we're getting something new in California. It's not an apology. It is a new area code coming to Northern California next year. Customers in the 530 region may be assigned a telephone number that starts with 837 when they request new service or an additional line.
Wow.
This starts January 31st because of high demand for numbers in that area. I think is it 530. Is that YOLO? The change will affect about 21 counties stretching from the edge of San Francisco Bay to the state's borders with Oregon and Nevada. So, okay, wow. Wide swath. The CDC is ending its program for free COVID vaccines for people that don't have insurance. That's before the typical fall rollout of updated vaccines to prevent the latest variants. The CDC says
fake. That's real.
Yeah.
CDC says it's ending its Bridge Access program early over a lack of funding. It was originally scheduled to end in December of 2024. So right before we need the new vaccines for the upcoming fall season, no, you got to pay out of pocket. Pay for it yourself.
Yeah.
Guess we're not concerned about COVID anymore. It's all right.
Look, I think let's put aside the controversy around vaccines for a moment, but I just think on healthcare generally, this society lets down the people who live here. It really does. America, for its wealth and for its freedoms, really screws the people who are Americans when it comes to healthcare. It's a brutal fact that you cannot get healthcare in this country, and it's an existential threat to so many Americans. It's just too expensive, and it goes all the way down to inoculations. So if you do believe in inoculations and you do believe in the promise of vaccines when it comes to any number of illnesses that may, well, end your life, frankly, you sometimes can't afford them. It's really wrong.
Lastly, hello and good morning, John Krasinski. And that's right.
Girl,
Aren't you
just
cute?
Yeah.
John Krasinski's If is expected to take first place at the box office this weekend.
Yeah.
The film about imaginary friends is projected to make about $40 million in its first weekend in theaters. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes is expected to take second and make about $25 million in its second weekend. Also new this week, horror reboot The Strangers Chapter 1 and the Amy Winehouse biopic Back to Black, with both expected to make under $10 million in their debut weekends as well.
Wow.
John Krasinski expected to
He
do
looks
very
very
well.
hunky in that shot, isn't he? Who is he married to? He's married to who is
Emily
it?
Blunt.
Yes, that's it. Emily Blunt.
Yeah.
Hot couple.
They are.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's cute.
Did the Culture Blaster review If yet or not?
I don't think so. Mm-mm.
No, maybe today. Is he doing it today, Albert? What's the Culture Blaster doing today?
Culture Blaster does have it at the top, at the very top of his
great.
list.
So he will review it if you want to find out. I don't know why my rundown doesn't have any of his stuff in there. Maybe it'll be added later. Anyway, he's very hunky, that John
Yeah, he is.
Krasinski.
Yeah. This report is sponsored by Tenuta Vineyards. Hello, Mark Thompson. Why are you yelling red this weekend?
Yeah, baby.
Sounds pretty good to me. Mm-hmm. Yeah. We also have the Hey, which one of you is Mark Thompson Pinot Grigio?
Oh, that's right. Right.
And that's not all. Tenuta's got 29 wine choices. They have 17 reds and 12 whites.
Hey, which one of you is Mark Thompson?
By the way, if you're looking for something to do over Memorial Day weekend, they've got live music there. And so it's going to be a great event, a lot of fun. You can get your discount, your Mark Thompson Show Tenuta Vineyard discount, by using the so-called phrase that pays, which is smash it with your iron rod.
Smash it with your iron rod.
It's the phrase that pays.
You have to give it some oomph, some power to your voice. Smash it with your iron rod. You get 10% off of the wine, 10% off of any event costs. Even if you book a venue, like book one of the areas they have to hold a party, 10% off.
10% off on the booking of a venue there?
Across the board, 10% off across the board. Now, if you order a case of wine...
If you want to buy the vineyard, they will give you 10% off if you say smash it with your iron rod. It's pretty. And John, it's not, what is it? It's Krasinski, not Kaczynski.
I said Krasinski, didn't I?
Yeah, we both said it. I think she's correcting John Watson.
Oh.
I don't know. I'm sorry to interrupt
it's very
spot
important
for Tenuta. Anyway, 10% off with the...
Smash it with your iron rod.
With the phrase
Thank
that pays.
you.
Got it, okay.
But if you order a case of wine to be delivered, that's 20% off.
Wow, that is strong.
Which makes it really, really nice and economical to get your case of Why Are You Yelling Red just delivered right to your front doorstep.
I'm into it.
Seriously,
now,
what the
Yeah,
to get the discount, there are two ways. You either call Rich at 925-699-4576, or you can email Rich at Tenuta, Tenuta, Rich at tenutavineyard.com. You say the smash it with your iron rod, he'll call or email you back and say, so noted, and then you move forward. So this is how it works. Tenuta Vineyard in Livermore. By the way, the winemaker, Nancy Tenuta, this is her 25th year as owner and winemaker at Tenuta Vineyards. They've been around a long time. They've been doing this a while. She knows her stuff. So.
She's terrific. It's a great spot. We're really proud to have him on the show.
I'm Kim McAllister. This is The Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
It was great. I loved it.
How would you handle this? We could try ignoring it, sir.
Morning.
You cannot say you love your country.
Where are my weed smokers at?
Stay at home and get baked.
Right on, everybody. Glad you could be with us. Thank you to our Patreon and PayPal supporters. I was actually looking through our PayPal supporters, particularly because that was how people were getting in for the June swoon. And there's so many of you who have helped create this show and sustain this show on YouTube. Honestly, without our Patreon and PayPal supporters, we would not be here. This show, I've got to pay our staff. We have costs associated with many of the things on this show that you don't see. I'm talking about software things that we have to get and hardware things that we've got to get. I mean, it's just the costs associated with this are far in excess of anything that we ever would have anticipated. And frankly, even if we didn't have a lot of that, it still would be completely dependent on you. So thank you to our Patreon and PayPal supporters. We scroll your name unless you've indicated that you don't want it up there. A lot of people make donations and they say, please don't mention my name. I just want you to know I appreciate what you're doing. In any case, we scroll those names at the end of every show. And the reason for that is, as I say, because you make every show happen. So if you haven't yet joined us and you want to be part of our community, please do jump on PayPal or Patreon. The link to both PayPal and Patreon is underneath every video, and you can jump on there and donate on a monthly basis, whatever you want. It's a great way to help sustain the show, so thank you. Somebody with a $5 super sticker, super chat, 5 Negronis, says Mike Aracha.
Big shout out.
Yeah, 5 Negronis is what a buck for every Negroni last night. Yeah, very strong. Candace, what's up, Candace? A former winner of Mark's Madness sends us a super sticker for 20. Thank you, Candace. Big shout out. Thank you so much.
Big shout out.
I think that might have been Candace Mick. That was Candace Worthman.
Oh, Candace Worthman. Different Candace with apologies to...
Would you like to apologize for what you've done?
I would like to apologize. I stand corrected.
I stand corrected.
And I misspoke.
I misspoke.
All
My
right.
words upset so many
Well, let's not
people.
go overboard with it. It's Candace Worthman. Thank you, Candace, for the 20. And a super big shout out to you.
Big shout out.
Also, Spencer Jaffe with a $3 super sticker. Shout out to Spencer. Wow. Good to see everybody and the supporters in the crew today. You'll be very happy. Albert has done it, I think.
The Mark Thompson Show.
It's got it all. This is, wait. Luis is saying, Mark, you may not have a fixer, but you do have a fall guy. Good morning, Albert. Albert is my fall guy. There's no question about it.
I wanted to get in better shape.
Has no idea what they're doing.
Yeah, I wanted to get in better shape, so no better place to do it when I'm your fall guy.
Yeah.
Big shout out.
Big shout out to Luis. Thank you. And now...
The Mark Thompson Show.
All right, how about some Florida? Here we go.
It's time for Friday Fabulous Florida.
There is a gigantic alligator in my kitchen.
A look at the weirdest stories from our weirdest state.
Florida man is accused of stealing $30,000 in Pokemon cards, but his caper is foiled by topless MMA coach.
What?
That is maybe the best headline in Florida. Here's what happened.
So Florida.
He tried to abscond with over $30,000 worth of Pokemon cards. Abscond is a ding word. He was thwarted by 2 MMA coaches. They tackled and restrained him. This happened in Miami. He went into the Pro Play Games in Miami, asked to see a binder filled with Pokemon cards. Then he snatched the binder and ran. The store's manager says it was just like at that moment, I felt helpless because we're watching $30,000 or $40,000 of our hard work just walk off. You can see the video here that chase ensued and bystanders confronting the thief. 3 men, one of whom is shirtless, can be seen apprehending and restraining him. My friend jumped out of the car, cut him off, and that's when we got on top of him and used our jiu-jitsu to subdue him, said Dominic Galliana, one of the 2 martial arts coaches from a nearby center, seen confronting the thief in the video.
Clearly he didn't know there was a martial arts thing in this strip mall. No.
Boy. Police identified the suspect as 33-year-old Jaciel Monforo. He was charged with aggravated assault and grand theft. Wow.
Good day, sir.
Exactly.
I love the bystanders all coming together for
Yes.
Pokemon cards. You know,
It really's nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
A little bit of community there in Florida.
Love to see more of that in this country. MMA, Pokemon, and topless is the Florida trifecta, says Tom Dusenberry. Yeah, that's exactly right. A Florida man who aspired to become a police officer is at his job interview, and now he is in prison. What? Stephen Bodley, 26, he was trying to be a cop, and he's at this interview. The Office of State Attorney Andrew Bain said that during the interview, he confesses to this awful act with a child.
Oh, God.
Yeah. He mentioned the crime during the job interview.
I don't think he's going to be getting that position.
Yeah.
Ooh, it's a wild idea, but it just might work.
The certified voice stress analysis examiner. That's something we should get on this show, the certified voice stress analysis examiner.
Yeah. That.
I feel as though that would be something that could work on this program. Anyway, he essentially was explained that it was legitimate. So yeah,
I will say that booking photo, he did dress for the interview.
It was an interview. Sure.
With the shirt and the jacket. Yeah.
And when he was asked to expand on this horrible act that he was involved in, he did expand on it.
Oh,
and he went into some detail.
No.
Detectives tracked down the victim's mother and revealed all the details, and they were all ugly, and now he's facing prison time. A Florida man allegedly waves a gun at bartenders when he was told that the bar was closing.
Oh, no, it's not.
Yeah. Everybody's saying you need to get out of here, and he's saying, not so much. Carlton Lacey, 39. You see him there. He was pictured there for a moment. And again, on the booking photo scale, I would say a 3, a 2.
I don't know. The hair has to be good for at least a 6 or a 7.
Yeah, the hair is strong, but I don't know. There's just a lot going on there. Anyway, you can everybody can have an opinion. Mo Direct says a 4. Julie says a 2. Deputies responded to the Big Dog Saloon in Mount Dora. It was 2:15 a.m. and there had been an assault. 2 bartenders said that Lacey pulled a gun on them after he said, "We're not closing." They said, "No, it's time for the bar to close."
He's like, "Oh, no, it's not. It closes when I tell you it closes, is when it closes."
He grabbed the gun from his waistband and said, "Who needs to leave?" And then he said, "Keep playing with me, B."
There's a reason that this place is fun.
He's now in police custody. Meantime, a Florida guy is stunned to learn he's not a U.S. citizen after he voted, paid taxes for over 60 years, and says, "Look, I acted like a regular citizen." He's 66 years old. He lives in Florida. He's gearing up for retirement, and he's stunned, Kim, to discover that he's not a U.S. citizen.
How does this happen?
Well, what? He was applying for Social Security payments, you see. And despite having lived in America since he was a toddler and voting in numerous federal elections for the last 6 decades, Jimmy Klaas is not an American citizen. And he was expecting to get this letter from the Social Security Administration telling him, when he could expect to start raking in those big Social Security dollars. But instead, he was informed that his money was frozen. And the reason it's frozen is because he hadn't proven to them, he says, that he was here legally in this country.
What the hell is going on in the United States of America?
Klaas's mother was a Canadian. His paternal grandparents hailed from Germany. And what always reassured him that he was a U.S. citizen was that his father was a natural-born American. He was brought to the U.S. when he was 2 years old in the 60s, and for decades figured that he'd been granted citizenship through his father. This is a developing story, and you'll continue to update it, will you not, Albert?
I'll be on it. Yeah, hopefully he gets his money, and this is very, very weird.
Yeah, bizarre story.
Albert, thank you.
Florida authorities.
He might want to rethink that Trump sign on the door, because they're going to send him back to Germany.
Yeah, I didn't
Even
see
though
the
he's
Trump
never
sign.
lived
I saw
there.
the 2 American flags. Usually the 2 American flags can,
No, there's a Trump sign on the front door.
I see.
Yeah, I think he might need to, retool that thought.
I never know, I love the American flag and the American flag flying. Sometimes when their flag's too big or there are too many big flags, it's kind of It can be a warning.
Like the double
sad.
fisting of the flags, essentially at the doorstep.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's weird to do two back to back.
Michael Shure is actually entering into this. He's saying that, because it was in Al Gore, in that Bush-Gore election, the contested Florida returns. This guy voted, and he probably shouldn't have been able to vote.
Changed the course of history.
Michael's saying this guy actually did change the course of history. He stole that from Al Gore when Al Gore really won Florida. Right. Wow. Michael Shure is right,
not
as
fake.
usual.
That's real.
As it turns out, of course, Al Gore did win Florida, but that's a story for a different time. Florida authorities, in a video, wrangle and remove a massive alligator from a pathway, and this pathway is frequented by school children.
He's huge. Look at him.
He's 12 and a half feet.
Wow, he's a big boy.
He was strolling along a pathway frequented by kids walking to and from a nearby school. Florida law enforcement relocated him. I hope that's true. That feels like such a euphemism for killed him. According to the Pinellas Sheriff's Office, deputies got a call early in the day, and they dispatched law enforcement to the area right away. Concerned residents said there was an alligator on a pathway. Deputies arrived, and there he is.
He didn't get that big by eating fish. He needs some, some kid protein, I guess.
The wranglers they called in were actually a bit fearful, law enforcement said. They were scared. The guy's a big guy. Anyway, they relocated this alligator to a sanctuary in southern Florida. And
Do you think that's an acceptable absence or reason for tardiness for school? There's a huge alligator on the way.
there was an alligator on my on my route. Yeah,
alligator detour. Yeah.
In this case, there's plenty of video to corroborate that. Alligator finally makes hilarious surprise visit to Florida bank drive-through.
What?
One person who worked at the bank said he did not have an account here. Turned away. It was just a regular day at work for bank tellers at an additional financial credit union in Leesburg, Florida, until it wasn't a regular day. The unexpected visitor made its way through the credit union's drive-through, and the bank said they did not have an account. The surprise customer, this alligator, it doesn't look like a super big one, but big enough. The creature crawling in the drive-thru eventually moved on, not before staff captured many photos and videos. And there was apparently no other incident related to this alligator sighting. And with that, we conclude Friday Fabulous Florida, but we must select a favorite story. So I will quickly review for you what the stories are. You must pick a favorite. Again, we don't want to pick a favorite. It's like picking between children, but the bylaws of the show require that we pick a favorite. Florida man accused of stealing $30,000 in Pokemon cards, foiled by the MMA coaches, one of whom was topless. The Florida man convicted after admitting to a heinous crime during a job interview to become a cop. The Florida guy waves guns, I should say a gun, at bartenders who told him that the bar was closing. Who needs to leave, he yelled. The Florida man stunned to learn that he's not a U.S. citizen after he's been voting for all these decades and paying taxes for over 60 years. The Florida authorities wrangling and removing a 12-and-a-half-foot massive alligator from a pathway frequented by school children. And finally, the alligator who makes a visit to a Florida bank drive-thru. Employees said he did not have an account with us. We need to pick a favorite. I'll ask first in the chat, what is leading, Albert?
We have the Gator stories slightly leading over not a citizen, and then we have Pokemon cards saved, and this bar won't close as the other two.
Okay, so those are you. Those 4 to vote for in the chat if you want. I'll check in with Albert again to see how that's doing. Kim, what would be your favorite among those that you heard?
Kim, how are you?
I do like the Pokemon card theft and the topless fellas from the MMA studio. I have to go with a massive child-eating gator. I must.
It's child-eating gator from Kim. How about you, Albert?
Yes.
I do like the Pokemon card store just simply because of whoever edited that and chose that headline. Very misleading. So they
yes, it's very clickbaity headline, right?
Yeah, I saw topless MMA coach and I assumed, and then
sure. I mean, you could have said shirtless MMA coach, right? Which is really closer, but they went topless because it creates clickbait.
You got me.
Sure.
You got me, Newsweek.
Yeah. So is that your pick, the Pokemon code?
That is my kit. That is my pick. Yeah.
I got to go with the gator, 12.5-foot gator. I mean, it's just yeah. I don't know, but you're right. It's hotly contested. Who's ahead in the chat?
The Gators, 50%, so over 50, half.
Okay, the Gators take it. And with that, we wrap Friday Fabulous Florida.
This has been Friday Fabulous Florida.
There is a gigantic alligator in my kitchen.
Y'all come back now here.
Well curated, Albert. Well done. Thank you very much, sir. Smash the like button for Albert
with your iron rod.
And that was a great outing to the Sunshine State. Still to come this hour, the Culture Blaster, Michael Snyder, will be through. We'll have the latest on the movie that's expected to do well this weekend. That's the John Krasinski film, If, in addition to a lot of other stuff. And now we turn our attention to the world of politics. So we'll do that.
The Mark Thompson Show.
This guy has forgotten more about politics than most of us will ever know. He's the great Michael Shure, everyone. Hello, sir.
Hey, guys.
Well, Michael, we talked about this Alito thing at the beginning of the program, the flag being flown there, and it seems as though he claims it was his spouse. And, speaking of spouses, you have another Supreme Court Justice in Clarence Thomas, whose spouse is hip deep in election denial and in coup attempting, in my judgment. The court, I was saying, has really always been political. I mean, the politics of the Supreme Court has always been there, but it seems as though there's just almost an unapologetic corruption and bias to the court now.
Well, yeah, I mean, the politics has always been there, but it wasn't the same kind of tribal politics most of the way, and certainly not with the majority of justices. So that's what's different. And so these public expressions of politics are very different than having a conservative judicial record or dodging questions during your Senate confirmation hearing from Democrats. So this is much more overt, and not saying necessarily that it was Alito who put it up there. No one is. They're saying it's his wife in response to a neighbor who put up an F Trump flag. So, it was a back and forth. It's just not what the wife of a Supreme Court justice should do, and it shouldn't be on the house of a Supreme Court justice. Richard Durbin, the Democrat from Chicago, senator, is saying that he should be recuse himself from all of the cases having to do with the 2020 election, which, I think is going to be a conversation that a lot of people are going to have.
Well, I like that they're going to have it. I've always felt that just even on Clarence Thomas, that controversy, that bias, that naked corruption, even in terms of sort of the monies that he received, the buying of a place for his mother and all this other, I just felt as though that, was in the news cycle, don't get me wrong, for 10 days or so, as I recall, or maybe a little bit longer, but it really should be the subject of a lot more controversy and a lot more conversation. And so again, I mean, I think about this, if this were the right learning of this over, one of the liberal justices' homes, we would never hear the end of it. I mean, it would have been like the Hillary emails.
Right. Where have you gone, David Souter, the bachelor justice, right? I think that what you are looking at when you compare these two is a real difference, though. I think Clarence Thomas is, on the level of egregiousness there, is much worse than what Samuel Alito and Mrs. Alito, in this case, did. I'm no defense for it, but I'm just saying that it's really apples and oranges, because it was Clarence Thomas himself who did so much of that, who took so much money, who took free trips and that sort of thing. It really poisoned the well. To think that Samuel Alito didn't have an opinion on whether or not the election was rigged, we don't know, but I would presume that he would be siding with Donald Trump in that case. But it doesn't matter. That flag shouldn't have been up there. I want to be careful that Clarence Thomas, what he did is almost criminal in the way that Congress should look at it, versus this, which was a big mistake.
Oh, that's interesting, and when you draw it out that way, I see the distinction, and it makes total sense. I don't know that anything will ever be done. We've created these, it's a regal court. It really is. These are kings who, and queens or whatever. These are people who are really not held to account, and so even the basic ethics code that's out there, there's no enforcing of it.
Right. Well, that's true. That you don't see the enforcement, and that's the big gap. And they also don't quite know how to enforce it, and that's the problem. You go to the rule book, and there's not really a clear delineation of who's the one to enforce it. Is it the justice themselves? Is it the chief justice? We don't know. But clearly, if John Roberts wanted to step in, he would, and maybe he should.
I want to turn to what was agreed upon this week by the two presidential candidates, and that is this debate that will be audience-less, which seems to me like a good idea. And also there are certain, I guess they planned anyway, certain technical ways they can avoid maybe shout downs back and forth, although, cutting somebody's mic when it's not really their turn to respond. I've always felt that these are TV shows anyway, that there's no real debating going on. I mean, that, it's made me uncomfortable. I know these debates have become a thing, but they really, I like that they pulled back from the World Wrestling event that they were like just a few years ago, but it still seems as though they're still a TV show. Could you speak to me about debates generally in your judgment, how you see them, and then this particular agreement on these debates and how you feel that fits into all that?
Yeah, well, so look, I one thing you have to say when you talk about these debates is that both or neither man wants RFK Jr. on the stage for various reasons. Probably a greater charisma in talking about serious issues is what they would say. Of course, Kennedy is looked at as kind of fringe by a lot of people. He is, if you're looking at the superficial stuff, his voice is different than what we're accustomed to hearing. But by the same token, he's somebody who can sort of bring the facts and criticize both of them. If they're criticizing each other, that's one thing. If somebody else is doing the criticizing, it hurts both candidates, and they don't want to have to answer to that person who they look at as kind of a gadfly in this race. So there is that part of it, and this avoids, by going outside of the Committee on Presidential Debates, they don't have to have Bobby Kennedy on the stage, which does matter. And I think it's the biggest impetus for this, in fact. I think not having the audience there is good. I think ratings will not be as good because there's not an audience there. And I think that having it, the first one be in June, it makes it easier for Biden to have it just be about Trump. It will be soon after we hear some kind of a verdict in New York. If Biden is going to win this election, a big part of that will be by having people vote against Donald Trump, to scare them into the possibility of a Trump presidency. And I think that's important. Another part of it is that there's a big spread between June and September. So if Biden disappoints in June, he can come back and do it again in September and do well. That helps Biden as well.
That's a really interesting take as well. And I'm wondering, last thing on the debate, if there's anything to the interesting take, meaning the timing. I really like that take for that reason. I hadn't thought about the timing being strategically so advantageous. I wonder if you could speak to the thing that Trump sort of threw in a third debate in his saying, sure, I'll do it, and a Fox News debate on whatever date he suggested. I mean, it's something that hadn't been agreed to, but it was sort of, and then he did that thing that he goes, so, like sort of like done and done. Thank you, I'll be there. Yeah, and it's very Trumpian, to sort of force that. And that would be the last debate. I think he wants it in October or something in Fox News land.
Yeah, I think that I look, that's very Trumpian. It's to sort of put it out there as something that isn't real. And until it's real, it isn't real.
And of course, because they'll go, we didn't agree on that. He goes, oh, you're afraid to debate. I see, you're afraid to debate unless it's your liberal media, mainstream, whatever. No, it's a strategic move that he makes. Go ahead.
Well, that's what they're both doing. It's and a Fox News debate he knows would be friendlier to him than it would to Biden, perhaps. But I think the smart money would bet that. Look, it wasn't agreed to. It wasn't talked about. Could he frame it as if Biden's dodging debates? I guess he could, but he would have to do that after they'd already had two. So the retort there for Biden was, what do you mean I'm dodging dates? We had the debates. We had two presidential debates, and now I'm done. And all of the lies that you told in the last one mean that I don't want to debate you again, and I don't have to because that's not what we agreed to. So I think that I think it'll be a little off-putting for Trump not to have an audience there. And look, Joe Biden, throughout his career, has not been a great debater. He in a vice presidential debate against Sarah Palin when they were running against each other in 2008 on the McCain-Palin versus Obama-Biden. But the expectation was that Sarah Palin would not be a good debater, and she wasn't. But neither was Biden. Biden didn't win that overwhelmingly. His debate skills are not a dream for the ticket. So especially as he's in an advanced age right now, and these are times when frailty would show, I think the less the better for Biden. But by the same token, he's also going to get credit for saying, let's debate, and here's how we're going to do it. I want to debate. He also said it on the Howard Stern show. That was the first time he said he was going to agree to debate.
It's funny that you mentioned the Howard Stern show, because I was just about to say, for those who feel as though he's infirm, he's not running the country, I don't know, all this stuff, and he's been diminished so much. On Howard Stern, he seemed pretty together, didn't he?
Yeah, he does seem, he seems together. I think there are two meters, and I think I just talked about it a little bit with Biden and debates, is that Biden and other presidents. Joe Biden at 61 was not a whole lot better than he is at 81 in speaking extemporaneously, in reading a speech, in presenting in that way. That was not his stock and trade. It was about passion. It was about authenticity. It was about, I'm one of you. I'm the union guy and the firefighter, and I'm also the person who cares about kids and about minorities. And I also was on the Foreign Affairs Committee, so I know all about international geopolitical things, and I was on the judiciary, so I know about the law. That's how he sells himself. His interactions have never been perfect. He lost a number of times in runs for the presidency because of that, I would argue. And so again, this is he was very good on Howard Stern. If you have the bar at Barack Obama and Ronald Reagan and Bill Clinton, you're not gonna find Joe Biden anywhere near them. But if you have it in terms of competence and what he's accomplished, then that's what the Biden campaign wants you to look at.
It's funny just how much of this really turns on charisma. It just feels like high school, it really does.
Well, look, it goes back to Nixon and Kennedy debating in 1960. If you listened to it, you thought Nixon won, and if you watched it, you thought Kennedy won. And since then, we've been watching it, right? And it matters. It's natural, I guess.
And does the debate result matter? Like who wins and who loses? Does that matter?
No, I think what we remember about debates, and we probably talked about it here before, are zingers and weird things that happen. What do we remember about the last? I've covered a lot of these debates. I remember the fly on Mike Pence's head.
Sure, that's exactly when you asked.
I remember Lloyd Benson saying, "I knew Jack Kennedy. You're no Jack Kennedy," to Dan Quayle, and that was in 1988. So we're talking about few and far between. You remember Jimmy Carter and Gerald Ford, maybe, with Ford saying that there's no Soviet presence in Poland. There are moments in debates, but the overall who won this debate, who won that debate, that stuff fades, and it also fades when you have your last one in September for an election in November, where so much of the narrative of an election is written in October.
This from Uncle Russ. I'm surprised Trump isn't trying to push for a debate, President David Palmer style, Dennis Haysbert in the TV show 24. You remember that debate on the TV show 24, Michael Shure?
I watched 24. It was the first thing I ever binge watched, actually. And then
the president walked off in the middle of the debate in 24.
Right. Okay.
Because of a national emergency that was going on. He was being told in his ear. Do you remember who moderated that debate? It was one sole moderator.
The sole moderator of that debate, I'm going to say, can I have two guesses?
Sure.
I'll say Mark Thompson.
Yes. Got it. On the first guess. That was very strong. Very good. Now, I hate to do this because I don't mean to sully your segment with something like the political or whatever it was food fight that went on Capitol Hill. But Albert, do you have that Marjorie Taylor Greene back and forth? It's just it is in the news cycle now because she has again just taken the, I didn't want to call it discourse. I don't know what she's doing, but she is just, it's as close to a food fight, a rhetorical food fight as you're going to find. This is, here's a little bit of it. Go ahead.
I'd like to know if any of the Democrats on this committee are employing Judge Merchan's daughter.
Please tell me what that has to do with Merrick Garland.
Is she a porn star?
Oh, Goldman. That's right. He's advising. Okay.
He's advising who? What? Do you know what we're here for? You know we're here about.
I don't think you know what you're here for.
Well, you the one talking about. I guess
I think your fake eyelashes are messing up.
No, ain't nothing.
Hold on.
Listen.
Order, Mr. Chairman.
That's beneath even
the order of your committee.
Order. I do have a point of order, and I would like to move to take down Ms. Greene's words. That is absolutely unacceptable. How dare you attack the physical appearance of another person?
Are your feelings hurt?
Her words down. Oh, girl, baby girl.
Oh, really?
Don't even play.
Baby girl?
We are going to move, and we're going to take your words down.
I second that motion.
So who will have to pay it? Okay. But Ms. Greene agrees to strike her words.
I believe she needs to apologize. No.
Okay, hold on. Then after Mr. Perry's going to be recognized, then Ms. Greene
I'm not
apologizing.
Well, then
okay, reserve the right to object.
I am not apologizing.
Now let's go. Come on, guys.
Why don't you debate me?
Mr. Chairman, the minority.
It's self-evident.
You're not.
Yeah, you're not. You don't have enough intelligence.
Chair recognizes Mr. Perry.
Okay, move to strike the. I move to strike the lady's words. I move to strike the lady's words again.
That's two requests to strike.
Oh, they cannot take the words.
There's another motion to strike her words again. Please
all right,
get
okay,
your members under
here's
control.
the correct priority. Ms. Greene, do you agree to unanimous consent to strike your words?
I repeat again for the second time. Yes, I'll strike my words, but I'm not apologizing.
Without objection.
Mr. Chair, point out
enough. By the way, I think it's the first time I've heard on Capitol Hill the phrase "baby girl, don't even play." I mean, that was a very strong offering.
Yeah, and for me, it was the first time I've ever heard the phrase "baby girl, don't even play," ever. So. There
it's
you go.
True.
First time you've heard on Capitol Hill, but
what is going on up there?
Well, what's going on is it's further. I mean, my take on this is further evidence that the Republican House caucus is a mess. They don't know what to do with Marjorie Taylor Greene. they can't really stand her, most of them, and it's become untenable because it demeans the work that they are trying to do. Whatever you think of that work is a different conversation, but they can't even get that done because they have these sorts of distractions. It also, to a degree, but less so, elevates the Democrats and these women who were opposing what she was saying there. She was asking facetiously if Judge Merchan's daughter, who was a Biden supporter, and Judge Merchan is the judge sitting on Donald Trump's trial right now, if his daughter was on the payroll of any of these members of Congress. Of course, it's absurd, but it could be asked in a normal way if it needed to be asked. Also, it's something you would know going into this already, and we would have heard from Marjorie Taylor Greene. But it really points to what a mess it is on that side. And it's the worst thing to happen in an election year all the time, to have these sort of things. It makes George Santos seem like, light beer compared to what they're having to deal with here with Greene on a daily basis. And she gets the attention too.
Yeah, exactly. And I think burnishing her brand is all about doing just that she can pipe up, and even the following so many of her outbursts, the gaggle of reporters around her on the Capitol steps. You know this, Michael. It's a huge bunch, and these press conferences that she holds can go on for an hour. Why? Because she's just good copy, and she creates this madness. But as you say,
they want to go away from it. It's also that you reap what you sow. If you have Donald Trump as the standard bearer of your party, you're going to get this trickle down, and that's what's happened. And you have somebody like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who is there to do serious work, whether you agree with her or not, whether you're disappointed that she is more of a congresswoman than she was a trailblazer. It doesn't matter. She's there trying to get stuff done, and then has to deal with people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, and then being sort of looked at with the false equivalency from the other side of Marjorie Taylor Greene, and that's a tough spot for Ocasio-Cortez to be in.
Before we completely wrap up, Albert, would you like to say congratulations to Michael Shure for the prowess of his hockey team?
Yes. So yeah, I watched the game. I seem to watch the game and they always score. So Chris Kreider on the Rangers scored a natural hat trick in the third period and basically stole the game from the Hurricanes. So
yeah, they stole the game. The Hurricanes kind of gave it to them. They kind of shut down as well, because they had the Rangers goalie Shesterkin on his heels last night. That wasn't his best game, and they made a fantastic save. Jordan Martinook going in there and pulling the puck out before it crossed the line, and then Kreider comes back. These are the sort of team of destiny type things that would make you think team of destiny. But then, of course, it's the Stanley Cup playoffs, so the next team you're playing is also great, and will most likely, in this case, I think, be Florida.
And this is the alternative sport that's going on, like the NBA playoffs, is completely uninteresting.
When does that start?
Well, I mean, these blowouts are anything but entertaining, so it's kind of cool to hear about something that, hockey looks pretty exciting.
It does feel like
hockey, people. Watch hockey.
And it does feel like 1994 for both Western and Eastern Conference this year. So
yeah, in a way it does. But also, 1 second, Albert. But Mark, stand by for 1 second. Were you surprised? Are you surprised what's happening with Edmonton and Vancouver?
A little bit, but Edmonton's been struggling with goaltending, and the Calvin Pickard did well enough. But
he was great last night, actually. Yeah,
they always fall up short, for some reason, in their own non-Toronto Maple Leafs way.
I hate to break up Sports Center, but I've really got to move along. This has been great. Michael, we love our time with you and look forward to next week. And you are joining us maybe for a quick drop-in on June 3rd for June Swoon. It's 6 to 8 p.m. We can find a 10-minute slot for you in that period, do you think?
As promised, if it's Game 4 and the Rangers are up 3-0, have a great time with this. No, we'll be fine. I can't wait to see you.
All right, Michael Shure, everybody. Thanks, Michael. See you next time.
The Mark Thompson Show.
We're more or less on time, and with that, let's get some quick news and get into the Culture Blaster, who is standing by. Smash the like button like a boss for the good takes of Michael Shure, the additional content, those hockey nuts, Albert and Michael.
It's nice not having a team in the playoffs. You could just objectively watch these two teams beat each other.
No, I never thought of it that way. That's the upside of your team not being in the playoffs.
And we got the #1 overall pick, so I'm watching it with a better attitude.
I'll remind everybody that Albert, of course, roots for the Sharks. So
terrible team, but we're
out of San Jose. Yeah,
picking #1.
Kim's News, and then the Culture Blaster on movies and more. Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister, and this report sponsored by Coachella Valley Coffee. Hunter Biden is requesting a delay in his California tax avoidance trial. Attorneys for the president's son are requesting the trial set, for June be pushed back until September or later. The legal team says the trial might overlap with Hunter's gun trial that's also scheduled for June. Hunter Biden accused of engaging in a tax avoidance conspiracy for several years. The first ever interview of a pope by a United States network will air this weekend. CBS News' Nora O'Donnell recently sat down with Pope Francis for this historic interview, touched on a number of topics, including the border crisis in the U.S. He said closing the border and leaving migrants there is madness. Pope Francis added a migrant has to be received and each case has to be considered humanely. Pope Francis also discussed Ukraine, the Israel-Hamas war, and the church's sexual abuse scandals as well. Their video is now being released showing Sean Diddy Combs allegedly attacking his girlfriend in a hotel lobby in 2016. This video, just released, looks to show the music mogul running after his then-girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, shoving, kicking, and dragging her in the hallway at the Intercontinental Hotel in Los Angeles. Ventura reached an undisclosed settlement with Combs in November of 2023, one day after suing him for the abuse there. So again, it looks like the video has now been made public. Well, with summer right around the corner, there was the famous Nathan's 4th of July hot dog eating contest. There was a qualifying event held today in Times Square where 12 contestants had 10 minutes to scarf down as many hot dogs as they could. Yes. And apparently it went pretty well. There's a Nigerian native who now gets to face reigning champ Joey Chestnut. His record, 76 hot dogs at the main event in Coney Island. It all went down in front of a massive 65-foot hot dog sculpture, which was raised and then spewed out confetti at the end of the contest. So,
please don't say spewed out after a
after a hot dog eating contest.
You know, it was I think Bill Burr who pointed out, and this is from me. I was the host of the primetime event called the Glutton Bowl. You can find it, Albert, maybe on some. You can, and I'll invite anybody to Google it.
Google it.
The Glutton Bowl was the Super Bowl of competitive eating. It was many years ago in a galaxy far away, but I was the host there with the guy who's like he's the grand poobah of the eating competition world. George something, I forget what his last name was. But anyway, there it is, the Glutton Bowl, and it was a spectacle. It was all shot on a huge soundstage in one day, and I mention that because there were successive rounds. So, like, there'd be one thing would be literally they would have to eat entire bowls of mayonnaise and nothing else but mayonnaise, and then they would eat immense sushi rolls with wasabi. And there is the mayonnaise. I mean, it was gross. And I will give you this little added tidbit that will also gross you out. There were huge trash cans, those big trash cans, like the large, and they had a bunch of them backstage. And from what I'm told, in between rounds, the trash cans were used for things other than just, discarding paper and such, because they had filled their stomachs with all this stuff and they had to get on to the next round. So the whole thing was pretty crazy. I didn't learn about that last fact until after the show, but it was actually a really fun show to do. It was done kind of wrestling style. We brought them on through the smoke and the lights and the music and stuff, but the actual idea of this gluttonous competition was pretty gross. Yeah.
I can't even imagine eating a whole bowl of mayonnaise like that. That's stomach turning.
Yeah, no, and that wasn't even the most stomach turning part. But I have to say that Bill Burr points out that on the hot dog eating competition, they dunk the hot dogs in water, as you know, right? They don't really, because they're trying to get as many in a limited time.
Right.
Or they're trying to get, right? So Bill Burr feels, the comedian, that that's not eating a hot dog. Eating a hot dog is, you should eat it, with mustard and relish and not be able to dunk it in water. So it's very funny that there is this pushback. I don't know how much there is, but it was the first time I'd heard that as an objection to the entire thing.
I mean,
anyway.
I don't think it matters what it's dunked in as long as you eat the hot dog.
Well, there you go. Take it up with Bill Burr.
We'll see. I don't know. There's a man who was injured by an LAPD projectile during the 2020 anti-police protests. Now won $1.5 million settlement. Benjamin Montemayor was shot in the groin at close range by a rubber bullet. Happened in Hollywood during the prolonged unrest surrounding the death of George Floyd at the hands of police officers. So the payout by the city of Los Angeles is the largest to date from the lawsuits related to the 2020 demonstrations. As part of the settlement, the city does not admit wrongdoing. The LAPD says the officer who shot Montemayor did follow the use of force guidelines. Still, he gets 1.5 mil. The Taxpayer Protection and Government Accountability Act qualified for the November ballot in California. Some politicians already coming out against it. According to the proposition's promoters, the act empowers voters with the right to approve or reject all new state and local taxes, increases accountability and transparency so politicians spend tax dollars more efficiently. It's also supposed to stop politicians from disguising taxes and fees to drive up the cost of governmental services. This week, Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass urged voters to vote no on the measure, which was proposed by the California business leaders and the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association. And get ready to pay to play in San Francisco anyway. They're going to charge, possibly, $5 a reservation fee for tennis and pickleball. So if you want to go use the public courts, you got to pay up. The Recreation and Park Commission voted for it yesterday to ensure everyone has fair access, given many were booking and then not showing up. So this would affect 40% of the city's courts, all chosen to minimize travel distances for players. The Board of Supervisors will get the final say on this one.
I love that idea. Get that money out there from all those pickleball players.
Saudi Arabia pays cash.
Yeah, right. Yeah, all the Saudi pickleball players. What was the pickleball? Remember the controversy near the Presidio where they wanted a pickleball court?
This lady had a pickleball court at her house, but she was upset about the noise from the pickleball court at the park across the street. Yeah. So she wanted the pickleball park closed, but she had her own pickleball court.
Wow. That's such a rich person dispute. I love that.
Speaking of San Francisco, you can prepare for the road closures in the city this weekend because of beta breakers on Sunday. Thousands of people, many naked, hit the pavement from the Bay Bridge to Ocean Beach. 7.5 mile route cuts the city in half. It leaves only 2 north and south crossing points for buses and cars at Crossover Drive and the Embarcadero. More than 30 Muni routes will be affected by the beta breakers race as well. Yeah. And lastly, John Bon Jovi might be heading to American Idol. Life and Style reports the New Jersey rock icon is the top contender to replace Katy Perry as judge. There might be a stumbling block over salary. The 39-year-old Perry recently announced she's leaving the show after 7 years to return to make music. But it might be $25 million salary for American Idol. Is that right?
That is crazy.
Wow. Yeah.
I mean, I don't understand. There's no way that American Idol pencils out. By the way, that's one of the reasons that Fox dropped it. It was, people may not remember this, but it was on Fox, and then it was a year or so that it was nowhere, and then ABC picked it up. But you've got Ryan Seacrest, huge, now price tag on him. and pretty much they stunt cast the judges. You know, when Fox started, nobody knew who Simon Cowell and Randy Jackson were, and everybody knew Paula, but she was, you know, a back burner kind of celebrity. She wasn't expensive. Then everybody got super expensive. It didn't pencil out anymore, and they started to cast Mariah Carey and Jennifer Lopez and all these people on Fox. And I know a lot about Idol because I was part of it. I was the the voiceover guy on Idol. But anyway, point I'm trying to make is, how do they possibly pay him $25 million, and then they pay everybody else on the panel a ton of money, and Seacrest a ton of money, and still make any money on the show?
Well, isn't it like a #1 show?
Doesn't matter. There's just,
Why are you yelling?
You can, how much does that give you? I don't know. I mean, the other thing, they get a lot of product placement on American Idol. You know, Coca-Cola and the Ford Motor Company and all that. I mean,
they
get
have
a
a
lot.
Disney night. Imagine how much Disney pays for the Disney night.
Right. So there is that. Anyway, it's interesting. It's an interesting world right now because they, it seems like they're stunt casting still. And
I think there's a hint of desperation. I really do.
What does it mean, stunt casting?
Meaning you're casting somebody super high profile in an effort to bring in viewers.
Oh.
And they do it in movies, they do it in television, and sometimes that person is right for the role, sometimes they're not. But the point is they're very well known, and it's thought that they bring in with them a lot of viewers who wouldn't otherwise be at the show. Like in this case, a lot of Bon Jovi fans,
Right. I'd like to see what he has to say.
That's
That'd
what I
be
mean.
interesting to see.
There you
go.
No.
Yeah, the stunt casting has worked for me. I like it.
Yeah.
This report is sponsored.
The image is hideous. Hideous.
All right. Well, you don't have to love it, Simon. I'm just saying it's, it is John Bon Jovi. I mean, come on,
a bit pub singerish, I thought.
You think that John Bon Jovi? Simon is brutal. Yeah.
This report
that was
sponsored.
something I would expect to hear outside Magic Mountain at Disney.
Can I do it now?
I miss my bad Simon. Simon, he got soft. Now he's just playing to the crowd for the the same way that politicians and comedians play to the crowd. So I like the angry Simon when everything was bad, and he gave it to you straight.
If I'm being honest, it was horrible.
That's exactly it. It's horrible. Yeah.
This report sponsored by CoachellaValleyCoffee.com.
It is one of the worst I've ever heard.
That is not true. It's the
Albert,
best you've ever had.
Stop with the Simon stuff, please.
Yes, personality, but dogs have personality. The image is hideous.
All right.
CoachellaValleyCoffee.com is not hideous. It is heavenly. Is it time to take a sip?
Oh, it's unbelievable. I mean, I am drinking it right now. In fact, I just got a fresh cup on top of the tremendous amount of coffee that I've already had this morning.
That's what we use the newscast for, is to refreshen your Coachella Valley coffee cup.
I do love it.
I know. Yeah.
Excuse me. Let's step away here.
It's pretty good, that Coachella Valley coffee. And you get 10% off for being a Mark Thompson Show listener. All you have to do is enter Mark T all together in the coupon code
She
checkout
says coupon,
area.
Michael Snyder. It's coupon. It's like coop, like a chicken coop. Coupon. She says coupon. Yeah. I don't know. I'm just saying. I don't think it works.
I think there's a hint of desperation. I
In
really
the
do.
special code area where you need to enter a code, Mark T, all at checkout. Get your 10% off, and then get
It's
your...
a code. It's not even a coupon.
It's a code.
Yeah.
Your discount code.
Exactly.
Is that better for you?
CoachellaValleyCoffee.com is
Does
the
that work for
greatest.
you?
I love it.
Jesus.
Kim, please settle.
What a jerk.
Hey, come on, Kim. That is really wrong.
What a jerk.
Come on, Kim. That is
Thank you, Trevor. I appreciate the drop.
What a jerk.
I
blame you.
Yeah.
Coachella Valley. They did not get their money's worth out of this one. I'm telling you, this is not going to work for them.
Well, I mean,
but I will say, honestly,
if
the
you would
coffee
just
and the
do
tea,
it without
amazing.
the coupon and all the other crap that you throw in.
I don't want to.
Okay, well,
You're talking through the whole thing.
I don't
Simon
want to.
Cowell drops.
Mm-hmm.
Blah, blah, blah. I'm
really
Kim
lost
McAllister.
control here.
I don't want to.
All right. No,
It's the Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
I'm excited. I want to thank all of our Patreon and PayPal supporters for being there and supporting this show. We try to do as much as we can, cover the serious and the not so serious. And one of the things we do every week is on Fridays, This man comes in. He's found a new altitude with his latest offering. And will you join us you'll be joining us for June Swoon, too, I think, won't you, Michael Snyder?
I hope so.
Yeah, you hope so. I hope his mic is on. I guess we'll find out pretty quickly.
Hey, Mike is on. Isn't that enough?
I don't hear him. Do you hear him, Albert, or not?
No, his mic isn't on.
Do you hear him? Keep talking, Michael.
Yes, well,
I don't
as
hear
I was
him.
saying, when I hang around the chicken cube,
No, I hear him
I like
through.
to sip a little Coachella Valley coffee. I
Now
don't
I'm
know about
concerned,
you.
Albert. What is going on here?
So good.
What is going on here, Albert? Hold on one second, everybody. Speak among yourselves for a moment. Michael,
Sorry. There I am.
unclear as to
You have
what's
to turn
happening
on
here.
the microphone. There's a button. It usually turns red when you push it.
No, of course, that's it.
That's
But
the
I don't-
one. Yeah.
Keep talking, Michael.
And
Hey,
then
I don't understand what the problem could possibly be because again, Mike is always turned on. It's my microphone that
Yes,
is
you
the
are always-
problem.
Yeah. Keep talking.
I'm doing what I can. Is there actually a button on this microphone over here?
A lot of maybe it's been unplugged somehow or not. I don't know. We've changed nothing, but I don't hear him clearly. I hear him through my microphone. This is outrageous.
It is outrageous.
I don't know what to say, Michael Snyder. This is.
Nor do I.
I think Tony would be who I'd normally call in a situation like this.
Does each microphone have an individual switch? As
Well,
Kim
you're on what's
suggested?
called a virtual pot.
Oh yeah, okay. I've smoked some virtual pot in my day, but
there you go.
Hey, okay.
We can hear him. He just
I
sounds a
can't
little
believe
hollow.
all the salient points I've tried to make in the past 30 or 40 seconds have been lost in the ether. But hey, here we are.
Yeah, how about it? He comes and goes on a rainbow. How about it for Michael Snyder, the Culture Blaster? Hello, sir.
Hi, and greetings, Kim, Albert, Tony in absentia, and obviously our wonderful, wonderful audience here at the MTS. You know, amid all the brouhaha and kerfuffle about Judge Alito having an upside-down flag on his lawn in solidarity with the January 6 rioters, Marjorie Taylor Greene has announced that she's going to be hanging herself upside down in support of Donald Trump. You know, like, how dumb is Marjorie Taylor Greene?
How dumb is she, Michael?
Oh, when the committee chairman called for order in the House, she shouted out, "I'll have a ham sandwich."
All right, I get it. I get it. Michael with the topical stuff.
Hey, you do what you
Very,
can.
very good, sir.
I'm kind of excited to have John Bon Jovi join American Idol, but aren't they afraid he'll give the show a bad name?
Oh, I'll give Idol a bad name.
Thank you. I knew I was going to inspire a performance by the great Mark Thompson. Oh, Lordy. Let's talk some movies. What do you
I
say?
love it. Who do you have? What do you have?
well,
This movie, If, is much anticipated.
I don't know what kind of guy John Krasinski is in real life, although, you hear things. I mean, I'm not going to tell tales out of
What,
school.
does he not have a good reputation? or what?
You hear things.
Is
That's
he
all I'll
Jerky
say.
McJerko, or is he no?
I don't know. A friend of mine did work on Jack Ryan, his terrific Amazon espionage series.
Sure, exactly.
What a jerk.
Yeah,
Is he
I
a
don't- I
jerk
don't
or not?
know.
No, is he?
I'm not at liberty to suggest one way or another.
Well,
He
by
might be
not
a great guy.
suggesting, you're saying, I mean, just say he's not if he's not.
No, I mean, I don't know firsthand what kind of guy is.
Stop it, Kim. He's not that
But
bad.
let's just say he was immensely likable.
I
as
liked him in The
Jim.
Office. I
Jim,
loved him in The Office.
The American version
All
of The
right,
Office.
just let Michael talk,
He
please.
makes a pretty good Jack Ryan on the TV show.
Okay.
A Quiet Place and its sequel were damn fine sci-fi movies that he wrote, directed, and co-starred in with his lovely wife, Emily Blunt. We've all been quite aware of their marriage for quite a long time. So he's earned a bit of goodwill that he needs for his latest effort as a filmmaker.
No.
It's the family-skewed fantasy If, which is all about a tween-age girl named Bee who tries to help a sad man reunite adults with their discarded imaginary friends from childhood. I love the concept. It sounds really engaging. And the girl, played by appealing young actress Kaylee Fleming, is staying with her grandmother, played by the great British actress Fiona Lewis, in a small, thankless role. And they're in New York City while B's father, a single dad, played by Krasinski in what amounts to a lesser role because he is the screenwriter and the director here. He's in an area hospital for an unspecified but potentially risky operation that may or may not be on his heart. Oh, it's never made clear, but of course it has to be his heart because this is about pulling at the heartstrings. Anyway, with time on her hands between hospital visits, the girl spots a strange-looking creature in Grandma's neighborhood. It's a big, furry, bluish-purple thing that speaks with the voice of Steve Carell. And anyway, she follows him to a nearby apartment where that sad man, Cal, played by Ryan Reynolds in a surprisingly low-key manner, lives with the giant beast and other strange and silly ifs, or IFs, if you will, imaginary friends, IF, that long to be reconnected with the kids who grew up and stopped believing in them. Again, this sounds like a recipe for a perfect family film. Krasinski has assembled a who's who of big-name stars to voice the parade of imaginary friends, including Carell, the aforementioned Blunt, bring the wife in, Phoebe Waller-Bridge, Lou Gossett Jr., Matt Damon, George Clooney, Jon Stewart, Sam Rockwell, Bradley Cooper, Bill Hader, Richard Jenkins, Maya Rudolph, Awkwafina, Matthew Rhys, Christopher Maloney, Keegan-Michael Key, Blake Lively. Even Brad Pitt shows up as Keith. I don't even know if Keith is an imaginary friend or some guy in the corner somewhere. There was so much coming at me in that regard. And you know what? So much star power, and so many of them get little more than a line or two. There are a couple sequences that are technical marvels. I mean, you will believe that a large thingamajig can hold a girl's hand and walk into a corporate office and be reflected in the glass door as he does. I mean, what they can do with computers, wow. Anyway, there's a song and dance sequence with Fleming Reynolds, a bunch of ifs, and a very famous and dearly departed pop music superstar that is a moment of joy. And the ending is a knee-jerk tearjerker, but Krasinski's world building, you know, the where, why, and how of the imaginary friends and their mission is convoluted, haphazard, and a little confusing. And a few somber elements of the story. Remember that the hospitalized dad is single, so where's mom? Anyway, and a shortage of laughs work against it as something for kids and grown-ups alike. I didn't hate it. Maybe that goodwill towards Krasinski was a factor, or the idea of something wholesome for the entire fam. You know, one of those things soften the blow here. Fleming is a find, by the way, and the tech is amazing. Still, the compulsory saccharine moments that were sprinkled throughout made my teeth hurt a little bit. If is in theaters.
Compulsory is a dang word.
Really? Well, it's compulsory that I continue the reviews.
Very good.
Let's move on to something that I loved. Okay. And I'm going to say the word loved at least one more time during this segment. I can feel it. Babes is what happens when three women known for savvy, no-holds-barred comedy pool their talents. Ilana Glazer is the co-creator and co-star of the Broad City sketch comedy TV series. Michelle Buteau is the bold and brassy stand-up comedian who's a Netflix favorite. Pamela Adlon is the actress, writer, and director of the sitcom Better Things, as well as a mainstay of the once lionized and now kind of discarded Louis C.K. sitcom Louis. And she's even the voice of Bobby Hill on the animated series King of the Hill. She's done boatloads of voice work, including The Simpsons. Their collaboration, these three women, Babes, is funny as hell, unabashedly profane, and genuinely sweet. Its terse title, I love it, one little word, Babes, does triple duty as the movie revolves around the friendship of two randy and rambunctious female friends, the effect of pregnancy on their bond, and the fact that women in particular need to be prepared for the massive changes that are intrinsic to bringing new life into the world. Buteau is Dawn, married with one child and another on the way. Glazer is Eden, who is a single, party-hardy gal. They've been friends forever, but Dawn's marriage and growing family have eaten into her socializing with Eden until Eden has a one-night stand that gets her prego, and she decides to keep the baby, thereby giving her that in common with Dawn. So Glazer is a treasure, whether in hyper fun time mode, flirting with a cute and charming guy on the subway, bantering with Buteau, or freaking out about what impending motherhood is going to do to her body, her mind, and her emotions. Buteau is a perfect foil for Glazer and damned hilarious on her own, whether she's dealing with a waiter in kind of imperious fashion, trying to manage her kids and present a united front with her husband Marty, or tending to this friendship with Eden. The supporting cast, especially Hassan Minhaj as Dawn's uber-patient husband, is terrific. Although she's directed TV before, Babes is Adlin's first stab at directing a feature film, and she slays with this stab. It helps that the script, written by Glazer and Josh Rabinowitz, crackles, but it's Glazer and Buteau who really make Babes shine with their comedic skills and their rapport. You root for them, you're happy for them when things go well, and the movie's visceral and vulgar moments are generally hilarious, and I genuinely laughed out loud a number of times.
Wow.
I loved Babes, which is in theaters.
Wow. Imperious and visceral. I'll ding that too.
Okay.
Yeah, good job. So you got one you really liked.
Oh, yeah. It's not, it gets a little dirty here and there. So if you're, the church lady, this is not for you.
No, I see. Okay.
Okay. The first thing I thought when I heard about an Amy Winehouse biopic was, too soon? And then I thought it's been over a decade since her death in 2011 at the age of 27. And Amy, director Asif Kapadia's detailed and potent documentary about her, was released back in 2015. So, I guess she's fair game. And that means we now have Back to Black, directed by Sam Taylor Johnson, and bearing the title of Winehouse's most significant album. To be honest, the documentary is a more detailed and unflinching look at her. But to be fair, Back to Black, which is a dramatization of the British soul singer's brief, incandescent, and ultimately tragic life, does feature a star-making performance from Marissa Abella, who plays Amy with passion and warmth, looks like her at the various stages of her career, and shockingly sings like her, which is a significant achievement since Abela is not currently and has never been a professional singer.
Wow, that's an extraordinary. Incandescent is a dinger.
Anyway,
that's extraordinary.
It is. And this is otherwise a standard issue, tragic pop star film biography with all that entails, despite the conventionality of it all and the kinder, gentler approach to some of Winehouse's darker aspects. Remember, she had a substance abuse problem, and as we all know, they tried to make her go to rehab, and she said, no, no, no. I recollect that.
I heard that, too.
Anyway, Abella is so good, as are Jack O'Connell playing a rather cliched cad version of the no good but can't quit him bad boy Blake, who clearly contributed to her ruination. The awards magnate Leslie Manville as Amy's cool and doting aunt. And the protean Eddie Marsan, you loved him in Ray Donovan and a zillion British things. Here he plays Amy's devoted dad. Winehouse was so hounded by the press, Mark, and in general beaten down by fame and what was expected of her, that it's nice that she's being somewhat canonized by Back to Black. But if you haven't seen the documentary, it's a more honest depiction.
Yeah, the documentary is really good. Canonized, by the way. Yeah.
Gifted troubled singer. Back to Black is in theaters.
You think that she was, because you are, you write about music and you write about, so this, she's a cultural, I would say, phenomenon, and also this immense talent. Do you feel she was like hounded into and pressured into sort of a what was likely an immutable fate for her anyway?
I think that so much was expected of her, and the spotlight glare kind of sometimes makes people kind of shrink or shrivel or get bigger and crazier. And in this case, I think she drank a lot.
It hastened her demise, you feel?
I think it did. By the way, they do reference the fact of her Jewish background, and family members going, "Find a nice Jewish boy."
Oh, I didn't know that. That's right.
It doesn't happen. She does not find a nice Jewish boy. I promise you that. Okay, let's wrap up the movie segment with just a little short about something that my good friend and colleague Tim Sika, who does film reviews,
he's terrific.
He did them on Nikki's show, and he now has moved to the After Party Live. Very smart and eloquent reviewer, and wry, which I appreciate. He mentioned the fact that he was going to cover this movie called The Last Stop in Yuma County. And I went, oh, I have to seek this thing out. And apparently it did brief theatrical in the select theaters last week and is now available for streaming on demand. And I watched it, and as a fan of film noir and loving the idea that up-and-coming directors can knock it out of the park on a small budget, I was absolutely thrilled with it.
And that's terrific. I was hoping you'd like it.
It's really very, very clever, beautifully put together. It has a first-rate cast of people that a couple you might recognize as character actors and, second leads and whatever, but they're not well known. None of them are names. And the basic premise is it's Arizona in 1973, and a knife salesman who's not very good at the job is running out of gas. So he pulls into a gas stop, the last stop in Yuma County, for 100 miles. And there's a little restaurant there and, obviously a garage for repairs. And the gas truck has not come to replenish the supply. So he's kind of stuck there. And while he's there, two bank robbers who have just gotten away with a bundle from a nearby county also pull in out of gas. And this is sort of, trouble afoot. And there's a waitress whose husband is the local sheriff. All of these strands start coming together, and a few more people show up to get gasoline and don't have the opportunity, so they come to the little restaurant. And it's like a tinderbox. You just know things are going to explode.
Oh, this sounds terrific.
And I just thought it was first rate. Francis Galuppi is the director and screenwriter, and Galuppi is the guy's name. And I'd not heard of them. Heard of this director, guy or a gal? I guess it's a guy, Francis CIS. And man, everything works. And it is in the film noir tradition, so there may not be a happy ending, but even so, you're there for the entire trip. And it's also lean and mean, 90 minutes, bang, bang. And I just loved it. And
I'm excited. Where is it to be seen? Where is it?
You can see it on demand.
Oh, that's great.
And I just thought it was
I might demand it.
And you should. It's really a lot of fun. And also, I just love this sort of movie. This kind of movie is my meat and potatoes. To that end, my current column in The Voice of San Francisco is called New Colors of Film Noir, and it's all about two film noir projects that I've spoken about here on the air, one of which is Mars Express, the great French animated futuristic neo-noir, and the other is Sugar, the miniseries on Apple starring Colin Farrell as a hard-boiled but kind-hearted detective in Los Angeles. And so check it out at thevoicesf.org. It's all about film noir. And
thank you for reminding me. I've got to see that Sugar. You recommended it a couple of weeks ago, and I still got to jump on it.
And I do have to point out that, this Yuma County film was right in my wheelhouse. Had I seen it before I wrote the column, I would have probably invoked it, because it's, this tradition of a hard-boiled, dark-hued, crime and deception and betrayal.
It's great stuff. I mean, the mood is there. Ask Michael if it's like Baghdad Cafe.
It's sort of, except it's much more. It's much darker, I think, in some ways than Baghdad Cafe. If you like Baghdad Cafe, I think this is something you may want to look into.
I'm so sorry that I've got to wrap, because I've got the jaw doctor I've got to go see, and I can barely open my mouth. Can you give me just maybe a minute? I know you want to touch on TV also. But
I'll give you a little bit. The Veil on FX Hulu is also right in my wheelhouse. It's an international spy thriller series that is laden with moral ambiguity as it explores the very surprising and fraught relationship between two women who play this little deadly game of truth and lies on the road from Istanbul to Paris and London. One woman has a secret, and the other is on a mission to reveal it before thousands of lives are lost. Okay, that's the premise.
Wow, and where is that can be seen?
It's on FX Hulu. In the shadows, mission controllers at the U.S. CIA and the French DGSF DGSC, they got to put their differences aside, as hard as it's going to be, and work together to avert potential disaster. Elizabeth Moss of The Handmaid's Tale and many other things is Imogene Salter, a veteran MI6 agent with a specialty in undercover work. Yumna Marwan is Adila, and Josh Charles, who you may remember from Sports Night, is Max, a ruthless, controlling CIA officer assigned to work as Salter's American liaison. And Adila is maybe a queen pin in ISIS. We don't know.
Wow.
It's created it's called The Veil, created by Stephen Knight, the guy who did Peaky Blinders. So I thought, we're in good hands here, buddy.
Sure, great pedigree.
So there you go. There's a little something for you.
So The Veil is the Istanbul to Paris ride. One woman has a secret. The other is trying to expose it. It's on FX and Hulu. Elizabeth Moss and the MI6 agent, as she is, with a special set of skills a la Liam Neeson.
She does. She's like the female Liam Neeson, only kind of more womanly.
The Last Stop in Yuma County is the crime thriller. Bank robbers and the slow pot boiler that begins at a gas station that's out of gas, and we know nothing good's going to happen.
No cell phones, baby. It's 1973.
Great ride, written and directed by Francis Galuppi and Jim Cummings, Jocelyn Donahue, Richard Brake.
Yeah, these guys are not household names.
Faison Love.
Oh, Faison Love, people
You know Faison Love. And that's his feature directorial debut. It's a video on demand. Back to Black is the Amy Winehouse biographical drama film. I saw the documentary, but Michael says this is of course, based on Amy Winehouse's singer-songwriter existence. She is played, Amy Winehouse is, Michael says, by this Marissa Abela.
Yeah.
And she's brilliant, both in looking like and sounding like Amy Winehouse. That is no small task.
The emotion, everything about it is on point. And that's what carries the film beyond its more pedestrian structure and delivery.
And you can find that in theaters and...
That's it, yeah.
In theaters.
Yeah.
Babes is the movie that he really loved this week. Anna Glazer, Michelle Buteau.
Alana Glazer.
Alana Glazer, sorry.
She is just a marvel. I loved her.
Pamela Adlon, who I love, and she's just so creative. It's amazing. I don't know how she does it. Anyway, they all collaborate. It's funny as hell, he said, profane a bit, and sweet also. And it's all wrapped up in a really terrific movie. That's clearly his pick of the week. Babes is in theaters. And If, the much-anticipated film from Krasinski. What's his first name?
John.
And
it's kind of an ordinary name, Mark.
It stars Krasinski.
Yeah, and a small role. Mostly
a bunch of other, though, big stars.
Mostly it's Ryan Reynolds and this young actress, Kaylee Fleming.
The tech is terrific. The movie's not great. It's like a meh, I think, really is what I got from you.
It has moments. That big musical number, I was like filled with its joy, and then I was like, all right, explain this to me, please.
You were waiting for it to be over, but not horribly waiting for it. No. Just sort of. No. You can find Michael's latest column. It's about film noir, from what I understand, and that could be really fun to read. So that's on The Voice of San Francisco. You can find The Voice of San Francisco if you Google The Voice of San Francisco.
Google it.
Or you can just find it at
thevoicesf.org.
Thevoicesf.org. Find Michael Snyder's musings. He's a very good writer, and he has some very good reflections on things. So thevoicesf.org.
Google it.
And it's the voice of San Francisco. Michael, we love your visits on Fridays. He comes and goes on a rainbow. Bye-bye, Michael.
Bye, guys. Go Giants. Woo!
Mm-hmm. That, notwithstanding the problems, Albert, with the microphone, the board here had been rewired or something. I don't know. I don't really know why it happened, but I'm glad we got him on the air.
I blame you.
All right. Well, you can.
I was worried that he just had to yell across the room into your mic.
I honestly didn't know. That was like, I'm thinking, I don't know what's going to happen right now because I guess I put him here before this microphone and then he just does this segment. But all's well that ends well. Hey, we got to wrap up. I got anything quick I need to attend to? I saw some great donators. Is that a word? Donors, I think, is the word that's favored. Luis. Marjorie Taylor Greene said a bar so low, even Albert would be insulted by how low.
Oh, wow.
Albert, thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, big shout out.
Big
Thank
shout
you,
out.
Luis. Croquet Film, who I saw, will be at our June Swoon meetup.
Excellent.
With a couple of bucks
Big shout
our way.
out.
Wes, thank you, Wes, for always being there. Big shout out. Yeah. And thanks, everybody. Looks like we had a really good show. Nice job, Albert. I don't know what to say.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Except it's time. It's time to wrap up. So the After Party Live is going down now. If you just can't get enough of Kim, and there is a lot of that. People just want more Kim, more.
We'll do it live. I'll write it and we'll
She
do it
does
live.
it live over on the After Party Live. That's why I think it's appropriately named. And she'll have, do you have Tim Sika in today on the
I
After
have
Party
Tim
Live?
Sika in today, and I'm
Oh, that's
also
cool.
going to be talking about the portrait of King Charles.
Oh,
You know
yes,
that?
the Portrait of King Charles. Very,
I had a great
very
conversation with Courtney about it last night.
good. Yeah, Courtney's very much in the art world, and Kim and Courtney kind of nerded out about it last night. So,
So
very,
we're going
very
to talk
cool.
about that a little bit.
Albert, good luck with your golf game this weekend, and we'll see everybody back here Monday. Kim will be here, and she's got a great show planned.
I'm Shadow Stevens for the Mark Thompson Show. Bye-bye.
Look forward to a week ahead. We're out of time for now.
Out of time. Bye-bye.
But until next week, everyone have a great weekend, and bye-bye.
Thank you.